Black college sports and then some. We got it right here on HSRN The Network, the voice of HBCU sports.
You are listening to Green Talk for Brown Folks with Ryan Marshall on HSRN.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Green Talk for Brown Folks. I'm your host, Ryan Marshall. I've got a very special guest here with us this week, and I really appreciate him for coming on. But before I tell you who it is, I have to give his credentials, and it's so many. I can't even really think about off the top of my head all of them, and I've got a sheet of paper here that I have to read from. This brother is an amazing brother, and you got to hear him. He is the 19th president of Morris Brown College, HBCU, founded in 1881 in Atlanta, Georgia. He's the leader of this college while it was under duress and lacking recognition from the United States Department of Education as an institution in good standing. The institution, Morris Brown College, lost its accreditation in 2002. But then in 2021, April 13, 2021, earlier this year, secured candidate accreditation status by the Transnational Association of Christian Colleges and Schools. He has made history by leading the institution to become the first HBCU to regain accreditation candidacy after 20 years, a nearly 20-year hiatus. Get this. He has helped lead this school to have a partnership with Hilton Hotels and the global investment firm CGI Merton Group to partner with Morris Brown in developing a $30 million hotel, and construction starts this fall on a 150-room hotel. He was the interim CEO of 100 Black Men of America, internationally headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. He was named the 2021 College President of the Year by the Georgia Greater Black Chamber of Commerce. He was named top 10 smaller HBCU that is rising, or Morris Brown College named top 10 smaller HBCU that is rising, number 4 by the HBCU Campaign Fund. He received the Winthrop University Alumni Professional Achievement Award for his outstanding contributions to higher education. This list goes on and on. I am sitting here with Dr. Kevin James, the 19th president of Morris Brown College. Thank you so much for joining us today on Green Talk for Brown Folks.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
I really, really appreciate your time, and I know you're a busy man. You are seeing this university grow by leaps and bounds, and just the good news is just keeping pouring in. Just talk about what it took for you to get to a place where, when you came on board with the university, to that whole process of getting this school to secure candidacy for accreditation and on track to become accredited here with this institution.
Sure. Well, first of all, again, thank you for having me today. I really appreciate it. You know, people told me that I was crazy to even apply to be the president of Morris Brown College. You know, I had people say, listen, don't you know that school is closed? Don't you know that no school has ever come back 20 years after losing its accreditation? And so, you know, when I got my first interview, I called my mentor and I asked her about it. And she said, you sure about this? Are you sure you want to do this? And I said, yes. And she said, if you're sure, I believe that you are the person that can do it. And so I just came in with full guns a-blazing to try to save this institution. And we are absolutely restoring dear old Morris Brown College. HBCU founded in 1881, the only Black college in the state of Georgia that was actually founded by Black people, owned and operated historically by us. And I like to say we're the original FUBU, for us, by us. And so, you know, it was a heavy, heavy lift. You know, I came in my first day on the job. We hadn't paid our bills in 15 months. But God has been with this institution. And so I was really intrigued by it and interested, like, okay, we haven't paid the light bill, but the lights are on. We haven't, paid this bill, but the phones are still on, et cetera. You know, my first day on the job, the employees were 6 paychecks behind, but they were here working, right? And so I can absolutely prove to anyone who asks, is God real? Well, God has been with Morris Brown College. And so we're just very, very excited. And so, you know, coming in, it was 3 primary areas that we had to focus on. I call it the hard reset. That's what we had to do to restore this school. And so we had to focus on governance, fiscal stability, and accreditation. And so anything that I do on a day-to-day basis touches one of those three areas. And so we just came in and really just stabilized the institution through process procedure, making sure that the ship was right-sized. And really, John Maxwell says that everything rises or falls on leadership. And so I believe that, it was just the right time for me to come in and just lend my leadership and what I think that I had to offer to help right size the ship. And so we have a phenomenal team here of leaders who are helping me as we move the institution forward. In November of 2020, our accreditation application was approved by the Transnational Association of Christian Colleges and Schools. They came here to the campus in January of 2021, and they stayed an entire week. They went through everything, our finances, our academic programs, our facilities, everything A to Z. And at the end of the week, we had to sit down and we kind of went through everything. And in April of this year, their commission voted that we had met all of the standards and deemed a quality institution to receive accreditation candidacy. We now have access to apply for federal financial aid. And so we've officially applied for federal financial aid. We hope to hear something from the U.S. Department of Ed very, very soon. And once we get that financial aid back, the floodgates open once again with students interested in Morris Brown because they'll then be able to afford it and or pay for it. And so we just anticipate being a phenomenal historical Black college with a great student experience, offering great academic programs, and just being who we've been for 140 years. And what that is we are a haven for all hungry souls. That is a line that comes from our alma mater, a haven for all hungry souls, which basically means anybody who wants to come, you can come here to Morris Brown and we'll take care of you. And the second line of that alma mater says, and feeding them shall be our goal. And so what that means basically is our faculty, administrators, professors, everybody, staff, we're going to pour into our students to give them all of the tools that they need to be able to go out into the world and compete, be it in the workforce or be able to go on into graduate school and do great things.
So I'm so excited to be here with Dr. Kevin James, 19th president of Morris Brown College, here on Green Talk for Brown Folks, GTBF. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back with our one-on-one interview with Dr. James. He's got a lot more to talk about, including more on the hard reset and what this school has done to get back and get that resurgence in their college. This is Ryan Marshall, your host of GTBF, Green Talk for Brown Folks. I'll be right back.
You are listening to Green Talk for Brown Folks with Ryan Marshall on HSRN.
Welcome back, everybody, to GTBF Green Talk for Brown Folks. I'm your host, Ryan Marshall. We're getting right back into our interview with Dr. Kevin James, 19th president of Morris Brown College in Atlanta, Georgia. And I am so excited to be talking with him that he's given some of his time to be able to speak to our listeners here today. And so I really want to jump right back into this. I know you get a lot of the credit for the turnaround and this hard reset. You mentioned, though, that it took a great team. Can you speak a little bit more about the team of people that has been there instrumental in helping champion the resurgence of Morris Brown?
Absolutely. So very quick on when I first came into the position, we knew that we had to get our finances in order. And so I hired a phenomenal alum of Morris Brown. Her name is Miss Shermanita Carter, who's an alum of Morris Brown 1994. And she's a Black CPA, and she came in and hit the ground running with helping us to get our books in order, to get our finances, our processes, procedures, audits, everything in order for what we needed to do to prove to the Transnational Association of Christian Colleges and Schools that we were fiscally stable, that we had the process and procedures in place and the skill sets in place to be able to lead from a financial perspective. I've hired Miss Stephanie Gumby, who's our director of financial aid, who's going to come in and help to lead our financial aid programs. Just hired a brand new provost, Dr. Anthony Johnson, who has a wealth of academic experience to come in and lead our academic programs. Mr. Jerome Roller, our director of facilities and HR. He's phenomenal, been here for 20 years. And the list goes on regarding a great faculty, staff, and others who've been able to help us come literally out of the graveyard and to help restore Morris Brown College.
Absolutely. We're talking to Dr. Kevin James, 19th president of Morris Brown College, founded in 1881 in Atlanta, Georgia. Really appreciate his time being on this conversation. It's been amazing having all of these victories for Morris Brown College. But I know you're still waiting to get the floodgates, as you said, open when it comes to different financial aid programs from the Department of Education. So what are you doing now as sort of a stopgap in that regard? I know there have been some companies that have kind of started lending and opening the coffers to support Morris Brown until the help from Department of Education comes along. But how do you continue to support the students that are still currently here while you're in that accreditation process, but before this whole process of getting that going through with the Department of Ed?
Yes. Well, I would say very boldly, it's 3 reasons Morris Brown is open today. Those 3 reasons are God, the alumni, and the African Methodist Episcopal Church. We would not be open without those 3 entities. And so we really appreciate all of the alumni. The alumni are our greatest supporters, of course, and the Amy Church, of course, God, of course. But at the end of the day, this was a grassroots movement. We haven't had a major gift yet of, like Prairie View from Mackenzie Scott, $50 million, or Howard University, $40 million, or Spelman, $20 million. We haven't had that yet. Everything that we have done has been a grassroots movement from the alumni and the Amy Church. And so we just really, really appreciate everybody who has poured into Morris Brown, who thought it not robbery to say that school is important. We want to help to restore Morris Brown College, especially now that they are moving forward and they got some great momentum. Now, we have partnered with several organizations that are going to absolutely transform the future of Morris Brown. You mentioned earlier, I believe, we have just partnered with Hilton Hotels and CGI Merchant Group. We're going to be building a $30 million Hilton branded hotel here on the campus. Now, people ask me all the time, where did that come from? I literally, my first week on the job was walking outside around my campus, and I was talking out loud to God. I said, God, help me. How are we going to get through this? I mean, we filed $35 million bankruptcy. We've lost our land. We've lost our accreditation, $9.5 million to the U.S. Department of Ed, $4.2 million to the AME Church, 6 paychecks behind. We don't have any money. What are we going to do? And something said to me, and I heard this, use what you got. And I immediately look up, and Morris Brown, for those who don't know, is literally right across the street from the brand new $1.9 billion Mercedes-Benz Stadium here in downtown Atlanta. And so the next thought that came to my mind was, what was our top academic program back in the day? Hospitality management. I know what we're going to do. We're going to build our own hotel where we can get out of the business of begging folk to give, and we have a sustainable business model moving forward. Took the idea to my chairman. We went to the board, had discussion. At the end of the discussion, go build your hotel. And we partnered with 2 great entities, CGI Merchant Group and Hilton Hotel, which is absolutely going to transform, where our students are literally going to get hands-on learning in our own hotel here on the campus, revenue to the institution, classroom space, and the like as a result of the great partnership. And so we're just very appreciative of that. We've also partnered with Chick-fil-A. They're going to pour into our leadership development program for our hospitality and business programs as well. We've also partnered with Edible Arrangement. So my goal is to be the premier institution in this country for Black and brown people to come and learn how to own, operate, serve as executives, lead, manage, etc., restaurants and hotels and the like. And so we just anticipate great things coming out of Morris Brown College when it comes to that endeavor.
That is simply amazing, and I think that you guys are doing a great job, and I see nothing but a great and bright future for this college going forth here in Atlanta. So we're getting into the meat and potatoes of our interview with 19th president of Morris Brown College, Dr. Kevin James. In our third and final segment, we're going to continue our conversation, and we're going to talk about entrepreneurship and the racial wealth gap and what Morris Brown College is trying to do to help in their efforts to be a part of the solution and the change to helping to decrease the racial wealth gap between black families and white families. This is GTBF, Green Talk for Brown Folks, with your host, Ryan Marshall. We'll be right back.
You are listening to Green Talk for Brown Folks with Ryan Marshall on HSRN.
Welcome back, everybody, to Green Talk for Brown Folks. I'm your host, Ryan Marshall. We have a very special guest in-house, and we're talking to Dr. Kevin James, 19th president of Morris Brown College in Atlanta, Georgia. And we're going to dive right back into this interview, and we're talking now about the racial wealth gap, and it's something that I always talk about, and I think that it's a big thing when it comes to communities of color, black and brown communities. I want to kind of just not really switching gears a little bit, but it has a lot to do with what Morris Brown College is about and serving the HBCU community and also serving that Atlanta community, black and brown students, but anybody that wants to come through those doors. One of the things that I talk about on my show a lot, and we are charged with, is talking about the wealth gap, the racial wealth gap, and helping to decrease that. And I think it's been highly publicized that white families have 10 times the wealth of black families. And I have long said that one of the ways that you help to decrease the wealth gap is, you may not do it this generation, but for families that can begin saving for their kids' education, just like they save for their own retirement, that would be one of the ways to go. Because when you talk about kids in their education, a lot of families may not have those financial resources to be able to fully go to college, or if they do, they have to borrow to get it. So now they're starting out their adult lives in debt. And then from there, they're working, or some people are struggling to try to pay off this debt, which could be a school loan or whatnot. In your estimation, what do you think could be done to help decrease the racial wealth gap? And what sort of things could Morris Brown College do in that regard?
When I came into this position and we received the accreditation candidacy, and we knew that we were going to apply for federal financial aid, I told my board of trustees, I said, listen, we've been without accreditation for 20 years, but even when we get it back, I don't want the tuition to be so high where our students are graduating with a ton of debt. It is my goal as the 19th president of Morris Brown College that my students graduate with little to no debt. Okay. Morris Brown, as a result, has one of the lowest tuitions in the entire state of Georgia, and I think even in this region, at $42.50 a semester. When you look at some of our other institutions, folks are graduating with $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 worth of debt. And so we wanted to make sure that college was affordable, that students are going to come in and learn in our general education curriculum about financial management, how to balance, how only to borrow what you need, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The whole financial literacy component is going to be a huge part of our curriculum here at Morris Brown College. And not to mention, as we return the Title IV funding and federal financial aid, those funds will help students to be able to pay for college. So overall, Morris Brown College is going to be a leader when it comes to educating our students about finances and business and the like. Even if you're a music major or a psychology major, everyone will learn more about finances and how to be able to move forward. So when you graduate from college, you'll be in a position to be successful and to lead.
And certainly, obviously, having those financial aid, the not just the ability to get the loans, but getting the grants and all of those other things, scholarships and the like from the Department of Ed would certainly help, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I wanted to ask you, what is one thing that you think with the financial literacy component that would be necessary for not just Black students, people of color to have, but then everybody to have in your estimation? Because I know you've probably come across people in many different corners of the country, in different socioeconomic backgrounds, different heritages. What is there something that you think needs to be taught in our communities?
Absolutely. I think we need to do a better job of teaching about credit and credit scores and how to strategically get our credit scores where they need to be. So when we go to get a car or a house or whatever, that we're not paying all that interest and doing all that stuff. No one ever taught me how to raise my credit score. That didn't happen until my adult years. Not to mention in college teaching about stock and investing and the like. So I believe that we need to be more purposeful and strategic when it comes to credit, when it comes to stock, when it comes to investing, when it comes to retirement. We as millennials and young folk, we're not even thinking about.
A lot of people don't think about it.
We're not thinking about becoming old and retiring. We're thinking about turning up today, right? And so we need to do a better job of intentionally in freshman year in college, teaching our students more about credit, debt, and everything that I just mentioned.
And a lot of people I'm starting to see they're really excited about entrepreneurship. And I heard you mentioning about owning and operating with respect to hospitality and hotel management and things like that. But owning your own, having your own, or being an entrepreneur, would you say?
Absolutely. And that's why one of our top programs here at Morris Brown is our business programs. We strategically added a entrepreneurship certificate and a nonprofit management certificate to our degree program offerings and our certificate offerings because with the certificate, there are some entrepreneurs who don't want to go to school for 4 years, but they want a credential. They want, that hands-on, what can I learn today that I can use tomorrow kind of learning, experiential hands-on learning. And so we just implemented those certificate programs here at Morris Brown, and we anticipate some great feedback from those programs.
That's awesome. 2 questions I have real quick, and I'll let you go, and we'll end the interview. Is I'd love to know something that most people don't know about yourself, Dr. James.
Something that a lot of people don't know. I love to ride my Harley Davidson.
Okay.
People are shocked to hear the longest ride that I've ever done. I rode from South Carolina to California on my motorcycle by myself. I rode to Canada one time. So I love riding long distances on my motorcycle. I love to travel. I love to play poker. I love to play chess. I'm an academic, but I love thinking. That's why I love poker and I love chess and Scrabble and things like that. So I'm just a normal guy. There
you go. And the fact that you have a Harley Davidson, I probably would have never guessed that you owned a Harley Davidson, but that's pretty cool to hear. The last question I'll ask is, tell the listeners why Morris Brown College and how they can find out more information about Morris Brown and admissions and things like that.
Sure. Morris Brown is one of the most unique higher education institutions in the state of Georgia. Again, like I mentioned earlier, the original FUBU, for us, by us, founded in 1881 by the African Methodist Episcopal Church. We determined what degree programs we wanted to offer. We determined our destiny. Back in the day when HBCUs were being founded, most of them founded by white philanthropists, folks would say, okay, well, you can't come to this school, but we'll give you 40 acres and a mule and you go over there and learn how to be preachers and teachers. Well, Morris Brown is different from that. From the beginning, we were in charge of our destiny. And so that history, the blood, sweat, and tears that our ancestors gave to start this institution is like none other. And so Morris Brown is a special place. We are a family. We are fully restoring this institution. Anyone who wants to be a part of the restoration class and be a part of this journey, please go to our website, morrisbrown.edu. We look forward to having your support, but either as a student or by giving a philanthropic gift. So we look forward to everybody going out and talking about Morris Brown College being fully restored.
Well, that is certainly awesome. I really appreciate your time. That's Dr. Kevin James, the 19th president of Morris Brown College in Atlanta, Georgia, beautiful Atlanta, Georgia. You'll also get a chance to hear him when he talks to Omar Bashir on In the Zone, and then the HBCU Spotlight as well during the pregame of one of our games that we're going to broadcast during the week. And I really, really appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to Green Talk for Brown Folks with Ryan Marshall on HSRN. Follow Ryan's social media on Twitter at Ryan H. Marshall and on Instagram, RHM WealthWave. You can also connect with him via email at ryan.marshall@howmoneyworks.com. That's ryan.marshall@howmoneyworks.com. Join him next Friday at 1 p.m. for another edition of Green Talk for Brown Folks.